Hello guys, and welcome back to our Python course. So previous lesson we have stopped on the function that has no return, and the question was what actually it returns, if it returns anything, and we have discovered that actually it returns an object of the none type. And a none is the type of data in Python. So you can assign this to a variable. Let's say we can do it like this. So a equals none. None. And if we take a look at the type of A, we're going to see non-type. So non-type is quite handy when it comes to processing some situation. For example, you want to check if you have successfully connected to a database, then you can use the non-type if your code failed to connect to database. You can avoid error messages in this case. Now let's continue with our function. So here is the return statement. You use the return statement to specify what exactly the function is supposed to return. At our previous lesson we have defined the function called a_b_sum, and actually you can use a function as an argument for another function. So let's take a look how it looks. So this is our function. So we did at our previous lesson. So you see the syntax. So let's start it again. And let's a_b_sum. Now let's provide the arguments for our function, and let's have another instance of our function, 5 and 4 as the arguments of our function. So we see the correct result. So you can use the function as an argument for another function. So it works pretty well in Python. Now let's move on with our course, and let's take a look at more complex objects we use to store data. Precisely, we're going to take a look at list, tuple, dictionary, and set. So basically, objects in Python can be divided into mutable and immutable. Mutable means you can change the object after it has been created, and immutable means you cannot change an object. And here you see the mutable objects. So you can change a list, a dictionary, and set. And you cannot change all this. So, for example, you can change int, float, you can't change tuple. And the question is how to understand you cannot change object of an integer type. So how we understand that? Actually, let's take a look. Sorry, let me open the shell. All right, so we have created the object 5. And now let's try to change it. So if we type 5 equals 7, that won't work. So if we press enter, we see an error message. So we can't change this object after it has been created. So the object is immutable. Now let's get back to our lecture. Now let's start from a list. Actually, if we're talking about the definition of a list is a collection of items, and that collection is indexed, it is sorted. And you can have any kinds of items in a list. So you can have a float type, you can have integer type, you can have an object of a string type, you can have the Boolean type. So the syntax is this. So A equals, and you use the square brackets to declare your list. So let's try doing that. Basically, and let's have 1, let's 25.6. Then let's use the hello as the object of the string type, and let's say true as the Boolean object. So now we can check our list. Now, let's discuss the operation of making a copy of our list, how to make the copy correctly, and actually why we should do that. For example, we can say B equals A. And now we can check B, and actually we can think that now we have made a copy, we have a copy, but that's not true. Let's consider now another statement. So let's have variable C that equals a.copy. So here we use the copy method. Sorry. You use it without actually the arguments, so you do it like this. C equals a.copy, so we make a copy of an object that A refers to. Now, what is the difference between the first option, when we have variable B referring to an object that A also refers to, and the copy that is assigned to variable C? Now let's try to change one item in our list. So let's address an item. So let's say A1. A1 actually will be 25.6, because actually in a list we count from 0, so it is 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we are referring to a item with the index 1, it's going to be 25.6. So let's change that value to, let's say, 50. Now let's check our list. And we see that we have successfully changed the value of the first item. But now let's check what happened to the variable B. And you see it has also been changed. And that happens because, I hope you remember from our first lecture, that variable just refers to an object, and when we change an object, then in this case variable B also refers to a changed object. That's why we should make a copy. But if now, let me raise it a little bit, but if now we check what actually variable C refers to, we see our previous version of the list. So the first item is 25.6, so it is unchanged in this case. So when you work with the lists and their copies, please pay your attention at this. So when you assign something to a variable in Python, that name just refers to an object, so pay your attention to that. All right, now, so list is a mutable object, so you can change its content. For example, you can append some item to your list, so let's try doing that. So let's say A append, and let's try high. By the way, let's so that's all right. Now let's try to output our list, and we see the element that we have appended to our list. Then, of course, you can do some other actions. For example, you can remove a value from your list. So you do it with the remove statement. So you type a remove, and you specify what you want to remove. Let's say we want to remove hello. All right, so let's try let's take a look at our list. So we see that the hello item has been removed from our list. Of course, you can insert an item using the index and value. So to do that, you use the index method. So you specify the index of an element and you specify the value. You can append one list to another. You do it with the extend method. So you just specify the list you want to append. Now, to remove by an index, you just use the pop method. So you just specify pop, and then you do the command pop, and you specify an index. Of course, in the case of a list, you may have what is called a nested list, when list is an element of the list. So let's try doing that. So here is our list A. So let's change. Let's say A0, yeah. So we're gonna change the value of the very first item in our list. So A0 equals, and let's have another list like 55, 99, 88. So now let's check our list A, and we see the nested list. So we have a list at the first position in our list, and the question is how you access an element in the nested list. It's absolutely simple. So you just specify in square brackets, you just specify the first index, and then you specify, let's say, the index in a nested list you want to access, and now we access the value 99, so with this syntax. All right, so quite useful command when you work with lists is the length command. So when the length function actually returns you how many items are there in the list. So you do it in the following way. Len A, and that gives you 4. And pay your attention that list, which is the element of a list, is considered to be one element in our output. All right, basically these are the main operations with the lists when you use lists. Basically you use them when you want to have an array with values, and those values must be changeable. All right, so let's get to our next object type, which is a tuple. Tuple basically is similar to the list, but the main difference is that tuple is immutable. And this means you can change the content of a list, but basically you can delete. You can change the content of a tuple, but basically you can delete a tuple. Now, the syntax for a tuple, you use usual parentheses. So let's try creating the list. So let's have a variable t referring to a tuple. So you can have integer, you can have float, you can have string, or you all right, so let it be. Or you may have a Boolean value like true or false as an element of your tuple. Now we can change t and pay attention. We see it with around parentheses. So it indicates that we are actually looking at the tuple. Now, how to access an element of the tuple? Basically in the same way as we did for our list. So basically you just specify the name of a tuple and you specify an index. So tuple is a sorted collection of items. So that's how you access an element of a tuple. All right, so let's try to change the value of tuple's item. And since actually it's impossible, then we're expected to get an error message. So let's try t0 equals, so let's say 22, and we're getting an error message. And take a look here. So object doesn't support item assignment. So it's an immutable object, so you cannot change the value. All right, so tuples are absolutely handy when you want to work with the collections of data, and that collection should be protected from any changes. So in these situations, you are recommended to use tuples. Now, of course, actually, you can do slicing with a tuple. Slicing means you select some items by index from the original tuple. So to do that, actually, let's take a look at the syntax. So you specify a name referring to your tuple, and then you specify which elements should be sliced from the tuple. So let's try doing that. So we have tuple t. So let's slice object from 0 to 2. Let's say, and here you use the you use the colon. All right. As you can see, we have sliced 2 items, but pay your attention to one feature. We specified the slicing as from element 0 to element 2. And if we count 0, 1, 2, we actually expect the element, the string element yi to be included, but it's not included. So pay your attention that during slicing operations, you are getting like elements -1. So if you specify 2, so you're going to get from 0 to 1. So pay your attention on that. Actually, we have met that feature in our loop statement, so that logic here actually stays the same. Of course, you can delete your tuple, so to do that you just use the del keyword. Well, some useful functions you can use with tuples. You can find the max element, minimum element, you can use the length function, and of course you can convert let's say a list to a tuple using the tuple function. Alright, but one feature when it comes to finding maximum and minimum elements. So let's get back to our example. So if we take a look at our t-tuple, we see that we have elements of different types, and what happens if we try to let's say find the find the max element in our tuple t, we're getting an error message, and we're getting it because we have different types of items. So if you want to have the max or minimum function working properly, you should take a look at your types of data and make sure that they are actually the same. So because you cannot actually do maximum function to string, boolean, or so to the mixture of items. Alright, so let's move to another type of object to store data, which is the dictionary. Dictionary is a collection of data, but it has interesting feature. You don't use indexes here, you use keys, and in our example you see at the top of the slide actually 1, 2, 3 or Ukraine are just keys. So, and using that key you can access an exact element of your dictionary. So dictionary is as an example of a mutable object, so you can change its elements however you like. So you can append an elements, you can change the values, but you use keys. So let's try creating the dictionary. So let it be D, so you use curly brackets, and then you use keys, so 1, and let's have 55, then you can have 2, key 88, then you can have the key of the string type, so let it be hello, and the object will be, the value will be, let's say, hi. So that's how you create a dictionary. Then you can access an element of a dictionary. Actually, you specify a key. So I have specified 1, so I'm getting the value of 55 because the value of 55 is actually associated with the key 1. You can specify a string key, so you can do it like this. So D hello, it returns hi. So basically this is how you create and how you are accessing, how you access the elements of a dictionary. Of course, you can append or you can change an element of a dictionary. So let's try doing that. So we can D and let's append something to our dictionary. So sales person, and the value is, let's say, Mary. Sorry. So we do it this way. Now, if we check our dictionary, we see the new element, salesperson, Mary. Alright, so what actually, of course, you can have a nested dictionary, so a dictionary is a part of another dictionary. Alright guys, looks like we're running out of time, so let's continue this topic at our next lesson. So thanks for your attention. Please, if you have any questions, write them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks. See ya.